Hi everybody, welcome to Kabbalah and Me. In this video we're going to be looking at what conflict is and 3 practical solutions to conflicts. Conflict is the feeling of separation that we have from our environment, from our society, and from within ourselves. Kabbalah explains that God is the ultimate source of oneness and of unity. And He created a world of separation, created a world of distinctions in order for every part of creation to assume its individuality and reach its highest level, highest potential. Specifically, God created man in order so that man should optimize and reach their highest sense of self as part of the greater tapestry of the rest of creation. Man needed to feel separate in order for him or her to reach their highest level of have done on their own. Kabbalah explains that separation is not negative at all, just the opposite. When we reconnect to the other, when we reconnect to somebody who's opposite ourselves, when every particle of creation is interconnected within each other, then they are able to assume their highest role, and we reframe, we reconnect that puzzle, that tapestry, that beautiful tapestry of God's creation, and that comes through our own work. Separation becomes divisive and negative when there's an over-identification with the self, when the individual feels that their part is more important than the other part, and we don't value the other part. And that could become extremely dangerous and could lead to strife, to wars, right, to anger, right, and etc., etc. The word for conflict in Hebrew is machloket. Machloket, separation. The root word of machloket is chelik, part. When we feel that we are a part of someone else, then it's us versus them. It's me versus you. I'm greater than you. And specifically, when we look at someone else and we focus on the negative part of them and we disconnect it from the greater part of who they are, yes, nobody's perfect, but when we focus on that chelik, on that part, so then we become separated and we could justify the us versus them mentality. So what are some solutions to this? So the first solution we're taught is that we should feel that we are a part of a greater team, of a greater army, the army of Hashem, the army of God, that we're all working and we're all on the same boat, so to speak. And we all have to put in our effort. And just like in an army, or in a ship, right? Everybody has their specific role. So too in our lives, we should recognize that each one of us have their own role, their own specific roles. So there's somebody that's on the Air Force, there's somebody that's in infantry, somebody in intelligence, somebody that's the cook. And each one of them is super important in order for the army to realize what the role, what its global role is all about. So too us as a global community and as individuals all come together with our unique individuality, with our unique strengths that do not preclude somebody else's gifts and strengths. They, just the opposite, they add to our roles, and together is when we could truly be successful. Another tip that we're taught, our sages teach us that man should be as soft as a reed and not strong like a cedar tree. So that, I love that imagery of the reed and the imagery of the cedar tree. So when we look at the two of them, we're like, obviously the cedar tree is much stronger. But our sages tell us in their great wisdom, no, it's actually the reed that's stronger. What allows the reed to really be stronger is its ability to bend and to yield and to accept and to take a perspective not of its own. And the wind just comes and blows it this way and then the other way, but it still stays stable, and it still is rooted deep down on the riverbank. Whereas that mighty cedar is unyielding, unaccepting, not willing to take the perspective of someone else, and therefore if a huge wind comes along and just knocks it down, it has no chance to ever regain its stability. It's been knocked off. So when we're so firm in our beliefs, when we're so strong in our beliefs and unable to hear the other's perspective, then we are really doing ourselves a disservice. Then we are really just setting ourselves up for the next major wind to come and blow us away and to really lead that final blow. Whereas if we follow the model of the reed and we allow ourselves to take in the perspective of others, that doesn't mean that we need to accept the perspective of others, but we need to listen and need to be rooted in our own beliefs, in our own sense of self. That's rooted way down there. But at the same time, we're able to bend, and therefore the perspectives don't sway us and don't uproot us from our core. The next tip that we're taught is what the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, that we are all essentially mirrors of each other. So whenever you meet somebody that you don't like, the Baal Shem Tov tells us that that's really you. The thing about them that you don't like is really a mirror that's within yourself. And the reason for that is, the Talmud tells us that a person could see all of the other person's blemishes, but not their own. We don't see our own blemish. We are blindsided to our own downsides, to our own ego, to our own negative attributes. And therefore, the way God works it and the way things unfold is that we meet the people that need to teach us the most poignant lessons, that they just come right at us, and they sometimes live with us in the same room, and sometimes they're our neighbors, and sometimes they are, again, family members. And whatever the case is, that person that you dislike is really just you. And it's teaching you, and it's teaching us that we need to get through this issue and not to lash out at the other person, because by doing that we're really lashing out at the problem and we're not going to the solution. We need to go back to the root of really what the issue is, and by resolving that, then we cause that interconnection and we really fix ourselves. So it comes out, the Baal Shem Tov is telling us that we're all ultimately mirrors of each other. So all the conflicts and hatred and anger, etc., all really come because we have that within us as well. And if we're able to really neutralize that, then we're able to make that greater tikkun, that greater fixing, that is called, within the rest of society and the rest of the world, and to really realize the ultimate purpose of creation, of reconnecting the different parts and strengthening the individualized particles in order to re-foster that greater harmony and unity, which is the ultimate purpose of creation. So what are some thoughts that that resonated with you? What are some ideas that you could take along in your day-to-day life? Go out there and think about it, and wishing you a great day. Many blessings.